Beware of history, for that which is forgotten is doomed to repeat itself. Though well known throughout the world, it seems America in particular has issues following these wise words. When looking back at our national history, one can't help but wonder, where have I seen this before? Such a question arises when inspecting our school system, and while it may come as no surprise that discrimination against African Americans was a leading factor, it may be startling to learn that such racial prejudices can be found consistently throughout our history leading up to current events. The tales of Ruby Bridges and Sarah Roberts, along with various supporting details, help to give an accurate depiction of the discrimination occurring in American schools.
A change gonna come.
We'll get behind you. The two men in the front car will walk in front of you. We'll all go in the building together. Stay between the four of us and do not look back, no matter what happens. Don't look back at the crowd.
Keep it back.
The governor of the great state of Louisiana says you cannot enter.
Thank you, sir. The President of the United States says that I can.
Driving up, I could see the crowd, but living in New Orleans, I actually thought it was Mardi Gras. There was a large crowd of people outside the school. They were throwing things and shouting, and that sort of thing goes on in New Orleans at Mardi Gras. Ruby Bridges. Former U.S. Deputy Marshal Charles Burks. She showed a lot of courage. She never cried. She didn't whimper. She just marched along like a little soldier, and we're all very proud of her.
On the morning of November 14th, 1960, young schoolgirl Ruby Bridges prepared herself for her first day of school at William Frantz Elementary School in New Orleans. But that morning was no ordinary school day for 6-year-old Ruby. It was the day she became part of history, earning herself the title as the first African-American child to attend an all-white elementary school in the South. As she was escorted into the building, she bravely faced the angry chants of racist citizens and would struggle to be accepted at the school for years to come. Ruby Bridges' display of bravery and courage remains a significant moment in history of African-American struggle for equality.
Court order ceases at once. The further presence of federal troops will be unnecessary, and the city of Little Rock will return to its normal habits of peace and order, and a blot upon the fair name and high honor of our nation in the world will be removed. Thus will be restored the image of America and of all its parts as one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This nation was founded by men of many nations and backgrounds. It was founded on the principle that all men are created equal, and that the rights of every man are diminished when the rights of one man are threatened. It ought to be possible, therefore, for American students of any color to attend any public institution they select without having to be backed up by troops.
Bridges' daring accomplishment would have never come to pass if it weren't for the landmark Supreme Court case Brown v. Board of Education, handed down on May 17, 1954. Linda Brown was an African-American third grader whose father, Oliver Brown, had sued the school system in Topeka, Kansas. He alleged that the all-black school his daughter attended was unequal to various all-white schools and that such an act was in violation of the 14th Amendment. Arguing the case for the plaintiffs was Thurgood Marshall, and arguing for the defense was John W. Davis.
John W. Davis. His arguments had a familiar ring. Separate wasn't necessarily unequal. Blacks should be happy with the way things were. Didn't states have the right to educate their children as they saw fit?
The court declared state laws establishing separate public schools for black and white students unconstitutional, and as a result, overturned the Plessy v. Ferguson decision of 1896, which allowed state-sponsored segregation. This ruling paved the way for integration and the civil rights movement.
We conclude that in the field of public education, the doctrine of separate but equal has no place. Separate educational facilities are inherently unequal. Therefore, we unanimously hold that the plaintiffs are deprived of the equal protection of the laws guaranteed by the 14th Amendment. Plessy v. Ferguson in education is no more, and in practice, Plessy v. Ferguson itself is no more. The era of Jim Crow, constitutionally speaking, is over.
In 1951, I'd used a plain geometry book that had been used by a white student in 1935. Brown said that that was over. The hand-me-down tubas that I played in the high school band from the white high schools, it said to me that that was ended. The Supreme Court decision of 1954 was for me the Magna Carta. It was the second emancipation. It was a great moment.
Even with such a powerful ruling, desegregation of schools across the nation would be a slow and painful process. This fact was proved in force when deadly riots broke out all over Boston, Massachusetts. In 1965, Massachusetts passed into law the Racial Imbalance Act, which ordered school districts to desegregate or risk losing state educational funding. Desegregation busing is the practice of assigning and transferring students to schools in order to amend prior racial segregation of schools or to overcome the effects of domestic segregation on local school demographics. As the first law of its kind in the nation, it was opposed by many in Boston, especially in less well-off white ethnic areas.
Aside from the two senators, there was another man who was the subject of placards, Judge W. Arthur Garrity, Jr. The general consensus was that Garrity deserved to be hanged. A new touch was the abundance of tea bags, apparently to signify that the demonstrators were in the same vein as those who tipped the tea into the harbor. There were American flags, and of course there were special T-shirts. He knew he was in hostile territory. But never before had a Kennedy been met with such a reception in Boston. He was booed. The crowd would not calm down.
People of color are not safe to come here to Boston, and we're asking people across the country of color to stay away. Further, we issue a call for all persons of color to band together, for it is now that this bizarre situation of outright racism in Boston must stop. We must come to the realization that if Boston state officials will not protect us, we must ask for federal protection.